Hi, folks. Thank you for joining us after the premiere of episode 318. I see Fire Farah YouTube, which I'm guessing is Farah from the story, the sister. Thank you for being here. Hello, Kimberly. Damn, that's beauty. It's a new, it's a new name. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you being here and being a part of this live event. We are We are at, I don't know where we're at. What's up here? Let me just check this out and see if we can get the right numbers going here. There we are. Okay. Now I understand. So, thank you folks for joining us. For those of you who just came from the premiere, what did you think about the story? What stood out to you? Were there some particular points that really hit home or perhaps raised questions in your mind? Anything like that, feel free to share. Feel free to talk about the questions. I can tell you there is a little bit of a delay between the questions showing up in my feed compared to when you enter it. Kimberly says, Glenn, I am hurting and tired of seeing people overdose. Yeah, it's terribly tragic. You know, fentanyl deaths have started to decline. I guess the way to say that is the rate has started to decline. It's it's still happening a lot. One is too many, but it isn't happening as frequently as it was a couple of years ago. And so that's just tiny tiny bit of good news. Farris says, thank you so much for doing that for us and Darren. It's my pleasure. I feel very privileged, very fortunate, blessed to be able to create these kinds of stories, to meet all these wonderful families and to put that role of lifesavers in their hand. I don't I don't know what that noise was. Damn, that's beauty. I've never been to a live in this channel, but I watch all the episodes. Well, thank you for watching. I hope that you see some of the other series that are on our channel. We have stories about addiction recovery. We have a whole series of that. There's over 60 episodes in that series, and those stories those stories are they're wonderful. They have happier endings. And as far as we know, all of the recovery stories in our series, except one, is still in recovery. We also have series about human trafficking and a series about domestic violence, a series about cannabis induced psychosis. I almost forgot. And we have a set of stories about impaired driving. All important stories. And we have a series called American Peace Officer, which is stories from law enforcement officers. Those guys, gosh, those guys tend to have stories. Peace off Peace officers tend to have stories, and so many of them are they're powerful, and they are meaningful and important. They humanize law enforcement officers. That the stories they share stories that have stayed with them over the years. Stories that either were horrendous tragedies or incredible moments of victory. Anyway, so let me see. Ali says, "Oh, I have so many episodes to catch up on. I'd like to wish everyone a healthy new year and we'll keep praying for everyone." Thank you, Ali. Glenn is the storyteller and Brenda with us. I haven't heard anything from Brenda, but sometimes she'll just sit quietly and listen. And the storyteller, one of the storytellers for sure, is here. I don't know how many, if any of, if either of the other two are, but Farah is here, the sister. Lily says, "Your site has really opened up my eyes to the epidemic. I never knew fentanyl deaths in this country, such a massive magnitude, and so many young people. I appreciate you sharing and bringing awareness." Thank you. Thank you for watching and being a part of this and being a part of this live event as well. Uh, I am so. Paris's mom is here with me. That's wonderful. Uh, how you guys doing? How you guys feeling? Lily says, "I shed so many tears over listening to the heart wrenching stories of all the mothers and fathers who lost a loved one. My prayers are with them." So, mom, sister, well, tell our viewers a little bit about what the experience was like to do the interview, to share your story, to go through that process. We try really hard to make the process simple. The topic isn't simple, but we try very hard to make the process simple, to take us out of the story, to not be part of the story, to not be doing what I'm doing now, and to try to make us invisible so it's nothing but the story. Kimberly says, "Fire, I have just watched your son's story and we are here for you guys." We are. That's something that's a real magic to what happens in these live events and in the chat over here. People connect and bond. There's a couple of people. Kimberly mentioned Brenda. There's Brenda. There's Nux. There's Brad and Carla and Kimberly, who are regularly in the chat and as well as others. And there's this wonderful dynamic here. Samuel says, "Would you do an episode from the other side? I mean, the POV of a seller of fentanyl and how that has also ruined their life." Definitely. We would certainly be open to that. Here's the thing about the stories, the fentanyl stories and the recovery stories and the cannabis induced psychosis stories and domestic violence and human trafficking stories is these storytellers, they come to us. We don't actively seek stuff. We would certainly be open and excited to hear from a dealer. They have an insight that our channel doesn't really get to explore. If one would email us, we're uh, certainly game to try to make it happen. We travel all over the country to record these stories, and the way it works typically is we have a storytelling summit at a location. Like this story that we just watched was in Lexington, North Carolina, and at that location we shot. I would guess maybe 10 or 12 stories. That makes the trip worthwhile. It's a lot to travel like that. That typically at those locations, I drive there. There's a lot of gear involved, and having the gear it's just way easier. When we fly, we have to trim the gear some, and then there's some things that aren't able to bring with us, and that can be a little bit of a challenge. And so when we go to a location, it always begins with someone local who wants to make it happen. And they find us a place to record the interviews, and we announce it, and other people sign up, and off we go. It's it's really easy. And so if you look at our website, which scrolls by at the bottom down here where my name is, you'll see the website now and then, texas-pictures.com. If you go to the homepage on our website, you'll find a link that will take you to a page on our site that explains how to make a storytelling summit happen, and another link that explains what to expect when you share a story, what the experience is about, what we need from the storyteller. The big thing is pictures that uh, or whatever other stuff. Sometimes we get video footage, home security footage, 911 calls, toxicology reports. We get all kinds of different things, and whatever fits with the story. It's great to have those things when we do the editing, as there is a lot of editing. Like with this story, we had three storytellers and going between them, so it's one story supported by three people. It takes a while. Allie says, "Hi, Kimberly. Blessings to you in 2026. Fire and her mom has a lot of inspiration. Grace of God." Allie said, "You can feel the love and care in the chats on your channel. What a community." Yeah, I kind of think that too. What a community. It has evolved into this wonderful environment where people can connect and share and help each other. Kimberly says, "Glenn, my son told me that last year in Memphis, that one guy had a needle in his arm and other one died from an overdose behind Walgreens on Main in Madison." And I'm sure there were others. Viola is here. Good evening, Viola. Thank you for being here. Always good to see you here. Viola is another of our frequent flyers. So very, very glad you're here. What other questions? Uh, Samuel, I appreciate your question a lot. Your question about talking to a dealer, we're totally up to that. We have a story on our channel that's about synthetic cannabinoids, a documentary that we made in 2017 with the city of Baytown, uh, which is a satellite city of Houston. It's right next to Houston. There's a bunch of little smaller cities around Houston: Baytown, uh, Deer Park, Pasadena, LaPorte, a lot of those. And so, of course, I'm drinking coffee. And so, in that story, it's called The Last High, and it's on our channel. In that story, we did interview a dealer, a former dealer. And he talked about the kind of people he looked for in terms of who would buy. He talked about selling in high school and how the way he said it, he said, I went for the nerds. That's what he said. And like the band kids. That's what he said. I, I'm not I'm not calling band kids nerds. So, you know, don't don't send messages about that. So Fair is asking, drinking coffee. Clearly, this must be your first lie. Because I'm pretty much, I drink a lot of coffee. Sometimes sometimes decaf, sometimes not. This is not. But this is a mug. Uh, it's a it's a self cleaning mug. As long as you just drink black coffee, you never have to wash it. It's awesome. It's a mug that's on our store, and there's a link to our merchandise store on our website as well. And the reason we have a merchandise store is because our YouTube partner manager said we should have a store. So we set up a store. This coffee mug is on our store. It costs, I want to say $19, which seems kind of ridiculous. We don't set the prices, but it's got our logo on the front, and on the back it says stories that matter. And so I think it's pretty cool. I'm not convinced it's $19 cool, but that's the way it is. Viola, hey Viola. Yeah. Thank you so much again. Much love. Da, 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 da. Has any families reached out to you outside of the state of Texas wanting their stories to also be shared? Do you know if other states have similar platforms and support? Lily, our company name is Texas Pictures. We're not, we're based in Texas, we're based in Houston, but we are not limited to Texas. This story, this premiere that just finished, was recorded in North Carolina. And so you really just queued up a big opportunity for me to share with you guys all the places where we've done storytelling summits. And a storytelling summit is a place where we set up, and storytellers who want to share their stories come to us over the course of usually a couple of days, sometimes just one day, but mainly a couple of days. And we record 6 to 8 interviews per day. So we have been all over the country, over 30 locations in 18 or 19 states. Here's all the places where we have had storytelling summits. There's been quite a few in Texas. Yeah, because holy cow, that's easy. But we have been as far as Sandusky, Ohio, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Anchorage, Alaska, 5 locations in Florida, Kansas, Oklahoma, Colorado, New Mexico, California, Arizona, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, to quote the Beach Boys, golly, round, round, get around, we get around. So literally, in fact, we're working on developing a summit in Canada. That'll be cool. Cool is probably not the right word, but that would be meaningful, I think. And then there is we have a summit coming up in Foley, Alabama, and hopefully, possibly March, Memphis, Tennessee. We're hoping. So Brad is asking, how much are they? The coffee mugs are like $19. It's not like the zippered hoodie, but we yeah. So, but we do have a zippered hoodie now. Brad says the 49ers won't get past the first round. Well, who knows? Lily says, "Oh wow, I guess maybe you're referring to the map." Okay, so I got some sort of weird text message here that. Hmm. So I just gotta send this message for some reason. So I'm doing it, and there we go. Okay, that was easy enough. Kimberly says, "Because they're not going to." Viola says, "Hit the thumbs up, peeps." Yeah, the thumbs up button. I believe what it looks like to me here doing the live is different from what watching the live looks like to you guys. But I believe at the bottom of this video there ought to be a place where you can click on a thumbs up icon, and that helps encourage YouTube to believe that there's a lot of interest in what we're doing here, and that helps the channel. Brad's asking, is there a lot of traffic in Houston? No, no, none. You come see for yourself. It's awesome. And we will go explore some way cool seafood restaurants are big. Mexican restaurants are big. Restaurants in general are kind of big. We could go have a look around in the Kemah area. Kemah, Kemeh. If you've never been there, you might find it kind of interesting. You can Google it and see what all's going on. So what else? We have a few storytellers. Uh, Farah, how was it watching the premiere with a group through the chat that was running during the premiere? How was that as an experience, having a virtual community kind of with you as you go through the story? What else in the story stood out to anybody? Anybody who watched the story? What was there anything else that stood out to you? You know, the stories the stories are strange. There is in some ways they're kind of all the same, but they're also all profoundly different. There's enough diversity in our stories now that anyone can find a story that is uncomfortably close to your life situation. Maybe you live in the country, maybe you live in a big city, maybe a mid-sized city. Who knows? Maybe your loved one, maybe your family is serious church followers, maybe your family is far from that. There is a story, maybe the person in your head who might be at risk is a teenager or younger. Maybe the person in your head, in your family, who might be at risk is is older, even a senior, as in like senior citizen, not as a high school senior. But there's the big thing that our stories communicate, I think, is that there's no profile. There's no looking at someone and saying, okay, that person's at risk. Everyone is at risk. Everybody needs to understand the dangers. Everybody needs to understand how to administer naloxone right here. How about that? I just reach right over it and there it is. This is Narcan. There are other brands as well, and they all are equally effective. Walgreens has a store brand. It is, I want to say, about 30% cheaper, and it's exactly the same thing. Haven't heard from Brenda today. Haven't heard from Nux in a while, but I did get an email from Nux a week or so ago. Kimberly says, I enjoy my client stories. That's the thing. Everybody, I think you told me that in the chat on Facebook, and I think I said everybody grows when someone shares a story. And I firmly believe that. When someone shares a story, the listener grows from whatever they learn from it, but the person sharing the story grows as well. Everybody grows. Laura says, I've had a lot of support from Glenn and Texas Pictures. Well, thank you, Laura. We are, I'm really, I feel so blessed to be doing work like this, to be able to keep going. You know, it's not, it's not something I would call easy, but it is gigantically rewarding to get to meet so many families and to get to create this opportunity where the family can pull just a little bit of value out of their terrible loss, and that is that's awesome to me. Now we've been all over the country, and our hope is to fill in some of the empty spots towards northwestern United States that we haven't made it there. Like Portland seems like a great place to have a storytelling summit. And so if anyone's in Portland, eh, maybe someplace in Washington State, maybe Utah, Nevada, Wyoming, maybe any of those places. We have these empty spaces in our map of locations, and it feels like we're missing something. No, Kimberly says I've learned a lot from it. Thank you. I've learned a lot from it too. When we started doing these in 2022, it was November 2022. It started with doing a series of stories for the DEA in Houston. They hired us to record stories at a fentanyl family summit that they put on here in Houston. And when we put those on our YouTube channel, things took off, and so we kept doing it. We found a system where the process can be sustainable because of how advertising revenue works on YouTube. So we can afford to keep going to these locations and not charging anyone anything because of the advertising revenue. It is a lot less than what we normally earn for a project, but it, it's enough. It keeps it sustainable and makes it possible for us to be really immersed in these topics for our channel, these topics that are about awareness, these stories that matter. Now, like it says on the back of my mug, and can be your mug too, for $19. Anyway, so we are in this wonderful sweet spot where it's sustainable. So the beginning of some of our stories is a graphic that says this content is made possible by viewers. Thank you. And that's it. And the real beauty of that, even though it is so much more work, we don't have clients, we don't have sponsors, we don't have grant money, we don't have funding of any kind except for the advertising revenue that comes from YouTube. And that is based on viewers, based on how big of an audience we reach. So the bigger the audience gets, the more resources we have to do more summits. It's it's much like working like a real TV station, really. But we're not accountable to anybody. No client, no grantor, no sponsors, nobody except the audience, you guys, and the storytellers. And the storytellers are top priority always. Brenda says, Laura, thanks for raising such a beautiful family and sharing your grandson's journey with us tonight. I am 16 months, 488 days clean off of illicit fentanyl, thanks to Glenn, the storytellers, and the chat. This. How cool is that? How wonderful is that? Kimberly says, Brenda, congratulations to you. And Brad says, remember the 5-year plan which I bet is going to start tomorrow. Laura Genchi says, congratulations, Brenda. Thank you so much. I will keep you in my prayers too. For those of you who haven't figured it out, Laura is the mother in the story that just premiered. Brenda says, hey, Kimberly and Brad. Carla kicking it with us tonight. I am starting a 5-year plan tomorrow. What I say? I am saving my $19 because coffee makes my mouth hot and it tastes bad. You're doing it wrong. That must be it. You're doing it wrong. It'll work for water too. I I love this mug, and there's nothing special about it, but it has stories that matter on it. And when I put this, I have an espresso machine, and when I put it in the espresso machine, that's the part of the mug that faces toward me while I do the other stuff in the process. It just makes me so happy to see that because these are stories that matter. Addiction recovery, those are huge. They don't get the attention that the fentanyl stories get, but addiction recovery is a big deal. Huge deal. And we're working on some new ways to promote them and hopefully bring more of an audience, more of a recovery audience. As we hear from people in recovery all the time. That's brilliant, Carla. Get Brenda a mug in honor of her starting the 5-year plan. So tomorrow. Ariel 1989 says, Amen. Ariel, do I know you? Are you that Ariel? Katie? Kathleen Maldonado. Faith, stay strong and stay away. Our hearts can't bear another loss. You've got this. We hear from many, many people who are in recovery. So Ariel, okay, so not that Ariel. All right. We have one of the freelance editors that we regularly work with. Her name is Ariel. And I thought maybe. Brenda says, Brad, happy birthday. Don't forget to sign up for AARP and get your discount at Golden Corral. That's funny, but holy cow, Brenda, Brad's been part of AARP for decades, I think. Kimberly says it'll be 12 years now that I've been clean from cannabis and alcohol. That's awesome. That the recovery stories, they're such a big deal. So we are gonna make a new effort to promote them because they are good news, and they are good guidance, good inspiration for anyone who is new to recovery, anyone who is struggling in recovery, anyone who just wishes they were in recovery. There's inspiration in those. Just hugely important inspiration. So Allie says try a little cinnamon in your coffee. That's creative. No, no, I'm not doing that. But and so you got to remember that coffee is a broad definition now. This is black coffee out of an espresso machine. It's like it's an Americana is it would be the right way to call it. So kind of strong, weak espresso, I guess, watered down espresso. Anyway, but if you think of the creative drinks that Starbucks serves under the guise of it being coffee, it's milkshakes and dessert drinks. Carla says she'd love a Texas Pictures hoodie. Yeah, we have them with and without zippers, pull over or zip up. Kimberly says, I truly believe taking one day at a time. And Brad says, so you have the hoodies now with a zipper. How much are they going for? $50. Kind of high, I guess. Seems kind of high. I have a Carhartt hoodie that costs more than that, but it's lined and it is rain resistant. It's waterproof, which is weird. Now, so you can put Diet Coke in here too. It's a cup, so Carla likes pullover and Brad likes zip up. Yeah. Ariel says, don't ever get their egg latte. Latte. It's horrible. Egg latte? Is that like some takeoff on eggnog? Oh, there you go. Okay. See, we figured it out. Yeah, yeah. Egg latte. Well, that's scary. Okay. Brad, veterans should eat for free. Think about it. Without you guys, we would all be eating sauerkraut and bratwurst. Brain's mama, which is Carla, says, I will say that in regard to grief and child loss, I have to take life 1 minute at a time. A day is too much. But you're doing it, Carla. You're doing it. You're doing things that Brain would be proud of you for. I wish I could come up with something better to say to you. I can't imagine how hard it is, but I know it's really hard. I hear from lots of families. Kimberly says, hey, beautiful lady Carla. Yes, Ariel. It is sad. Very sad. So, hmm. So I'm looking at things that are in our here. Oh, lifesavers. Okay, I understand. Carla, how's the book coming along? I'm available as a first reader when you're ready. Now, Brenda's really onto something there, Carla. That 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 whole developing a book thing. That that's great therapy. Really. It is when I made this documentary about my great grandfather's life, and the way it began, my grandfather died when I was 21. My grandmother, his wife, died 10 years later. And so when she passed, she was the last one in the household, so there is this big house full of stuff to work out, to sort out what to do with. And in the course of going through that, I found this box that was full of old photos and a history that my grandfather had written about his father. And I thought, well, I'm a video producer. I could turn this into a documentary pretty easily. Well, I was wrong. It was not so easy and it took quite a while, but it's a 30-minute documentary. It's called The First American James. See, there it is. Brenda's talking about it. And one of the most interesting things about the whole process was developing the script, which was a long drawn out process, much more so back then in the 1990s, the early 1990s, especially than it is now when everybody's got cameras in their pockets and computer technology can do anything with video. Well, so for several months, I worked on the script, and during all that, sitting at a typewriter, going through my grandfather's history and shaping it into a video that was more in depth and doing some research and all that, I found that it was like having a relationship with my grandfather that I never had. And when I was a child and growing up, we were close. He was prominent in my life in a grandfather kind of way. But when I made that documentary, that was different. I was working with him. It was like two grown-ups working together, even though all I had was this document that he wrote. It was like 4 pages long. But I remember sitting in front of that typewriter looking at it and getting quite annoyed with him sometimes because I would say I'm sitting in my apartment alone. I was living alone at the time, and I would say out loud, "Gee, Papa, you left a little bit of a hole right here," and just have this. My point to all of that is, gee, Carly, you should start developing a book. It is a way to spend time with Rain. I'm up for whatever I can do to help you. Let's see. Large entry. Me too, Carla. 1 minute at a minute. 1 minute to minute. I understand your pain and I'm praying for you and your family as well. Kimberly says, Ariel, it hurts my heart to see our babies dying from this ugly poison. And Carla says, I've been writing a little at a time. I guess if I didn't go into the big giant dissertation about the documentary about my great grandfather, I would have seen that sooner. But it's great that you're doing that, Carla. You know, it's really it's so it's so cool. I see where I'm at here. Viola says, I'm sorry, Brenda says, Viola, I cheat and use hot dogs or Polish sausage in my sauerkraut. All right, fine. Now I'm hungry again. Brad says, Brenda, that's cheating. Hmm. Brenda says, Brad, what makes you think I am above cheating? Why do you think I have to pray so often? Not the same kind of cheating, though. Using hot dog wieners or Polish sausage and sauerkraut is really that's a creative license on the part of the chef, isn't it? Kimberly says this month is very traumatized for me because my mom's birthday when she passed away over 31 years ago now. That's rough. Brenda says, I'm pretty sure you meant Carla. How do you feel while writing and immediately after? And Carla says, I'll be thinking of and praying for you on the 12th, Kimberly. And she says, thank you, Glenn. So, Carla, I'm really, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing the, the evolution of a book, and maybe there's some people that were close to rain that you could ask for input from, a quote from. Maybe they'd even be up to writing an introduction, a paragraph. I don't know, but it just seems like there's a lot of cool opportunities to do that. Viola says, "Yeah, I do plain old sauerkraut. I do old kraut dog too now. Did it wrong. There you go. All right. So earlier, a commenter mentioned doing an interview with a dealer. Oftentimes, dealers are users just trying to get by. Well, what other what other stories should we be exploring? What other kind of topics that we have talked about? And we're working on developing a series that explores homeless that addresses homelessness that humanizes it a little bit. The idea we talked about it before. I told you the idea behind this series is we'll call it Messages Home. We're also in the early stages of developing a series that goes into missing persons, Native American missing persons, even, and some other topics are on the list of possibilities. As that seems like that would be good. That seems like the kind of story that would matter. The challenge is maintaining that balance between content that keeps everything sustainable on our channel and getting into those other topics that merit attention for sure. Kimberly is asking if I want to be in Memphis on March 20th. I don't know yet, Kimberly. I don't know. Polish what? Sauerkraut and Maxwell Street Polish sausage. Okay, is that what? All of those things sound good, particularly the Polish sausage. Brenda says, "Oh, where do I get this Maxwell Street Polish sausage? It sounds yummy." Yeah, I'm guessing maybe you got to go to Maxwell Street. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm guessing Allie can help us out. Yes, the homeless stuff. That's we have several people we've been talking to. We have a contact in the Dallas area who I think we'll be able to make it happen with. We really wanted to do something like that before the Christmas holidays because it seemed like something that would be great to have happen during the Christmas season. But we just we're crazy busy. Chicago and suburbs. If Glenn has an event in Chicago, I'll make sauerkraut and Maxwell Street in my crock pots for everyone. Allie, we're gonna wind up in Chicago at some point. Bound to happen. It's Chicago. Houston and Chicago keep alternating which one's bigger. Brenda says, Glenn, I had a dealer quit on me in 2023. She said to me, I just needed to raise money, raise my grandkids, and I will not risk killing anyone. I can believe she just walked away, but now I am so proud. That's awesome. There is it's easy to put a little bit of distance between you and the consequences of something you're doing if whatever it is you're doing is making you money. Brenda says I've always wanted to visit Chi-Town. Yeah, I was in Chicago probably 10 years ago or so now. I was with a friend who I hire as a uh, production assistant, camera guy, whatever. Whenever we can make it happen, he's like my go-to, my first, and we call him the Breeze, and we've been me and the Breeze. We've been to India and the UK, and he got stuck somewhere. We were maybe it was India. As from India, I went on to Singapore, but he got held back. The Breeze didn't have the right kind of stamp in his passport because he's not from the United States, and he didn't have the right kind of stamp in his passport, and he got held back. It's funny. He lives in Los Angeles, and anyway, so that is Brenda. That's a great story. A dealer who just up and quit. Allie says, I'll be there. And Kimberly says, it's called boundaries. My little sister offered to take me twice if I could get 1 year clean under my belt, and I couldn't make it happen back then. But that's not where you're at now. So that's very cool. Carla says, I went to Chicago with Rain and Jaslyn 5 months before Rain passed away. We were there for Ethan's Navy boot camp graduation. So you've got that experience. That's 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 a big deal. You have that experience to think back on, you have that experience to treasure, and so does Jaslyn. Brenda says, Carla, what an awesome memory. What awesome memories you have. I pray Chicago was nice to the four of you. Me too. So we've been here a little over an hour, and it's going to be time to wrap it up. Before I sign off here, I want to check once more if there's anyone in the audience who has any 3 months. So is there anyone in the audience who has any other questions for Texas Pictures, for me, questions about our series or other series on our channel, or series that should be on our channel? We'd love to hear the ideas. People who share stories with us come to us. We don't seek them out. They come to us. And we have never turned anyone away. So I am very grateful for you guys. I see we have over 60 people with us right now. And that's way cool. That's awesome. But it's getting late. So here's Brenda's wonderful message, everyone. What you take for granted, someone else is praying for. And I love that. I love that Brenda is so wonderfully consistent with that message, because it's so important. It, it's a great way to tell people, hey, you have a lot to be grateful for. Whatever you have. Allie, thanks for being with us. Good night. And Viola and Carla and Brad. Brad, you really should come to Houston. We'll have a good time. For sure. Laura says, you guys rock. Oh, we do what we can. Thank you. So very grateful to be doing this. So I always like to remind everyone as we wrap things up here that you are welcome, very welcome, to reach out to us at any time. We are here for you guys. So to reach out to us, you can reach us by email at info@texas-pictures.com. You can find us on Facebook under my name, Glenn Muse, and under our company name, Texas Pictures. We're also on TikTok, but frankly, we don't pay a lot of attention to that. And you can learn more about us on our website, texas-pictures.com. You can find out how to share a story, find out how to arrange a storytelling summit, and you'll find a link to our merchandise store with our $19 coffee mug and zippered hoodies and all that exciting stuff. T-shirts as well. And you'll also find more about the history of Texas Pictures, mailing address, phone number, all that good stuff. Laura says, Glenn, I would love to see some episodes filmed down in Mexico. It's a beautiful state with a lot of issues in the youth population, a result of trauma. God bless watching from Auckland, New Zealand. I haven't been to New Zealand. I've been close. I've been to Australia, but not New Zealand. That sounds great. Filming down in Mexico. That sounds like a wonderful adventure and a bit of a challenge. But we will explore that. Carla, good night. Thank you for being with us, Brad, and everyone else. Thank you all for joining us, and hopefully, we will see you all here again next time. Until then, good night, folks.